Okay, 2002 Mustang GT, making a whole racket, a lot of noise. Almost sounds like tappets, but it's not the tappets. Look at that fan. You can see that fan's kind of wiggling around. So probably has bad bearings. The noise is coming from the fan. Now if we go to the connector here, and I pull that connector, there you go, connector disconnected, noise is gone. So obviously it's a bad fan. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to replace the fan on a 2002 Mustang GT.
Okay, it should be an easy job. In order to get to the fan, you have to remove these three nuts. They're 11 millimeter, well actually they're like 6 millimeter thread, 11 millimeter nuts. So you need an 11 millimeter socket. And there are three of them. 1, 2, 3. And we'll just lift this reservoir out of the way. We're not going to disconnect the hoses because that would just be extra work. And then if we look at the fan shroud over here, you should be able to see a bolt. It's blue. And then on the other side there's another bolt. It's also blue. So those are the only two bolts that hold the fan shroud in. And we go down below, the fan shroud sits in two clips. Now you don't have to do anything with them because they're not latching clips. The fan just slides up and out. But I'll go into the car later and show you just so you know what you're dealing with. Over here we just have two connectors. And as you can see, this one for the fan I already disconnected. And the one here for the resistor, you don't need a disconnect. It's part of the harness, integral to the harness that comes with the shroud. It's part of the shroud, so you can just leave that in. A new resistor and connector come with the new shroud. So that's really all you have to do is just this connector. It's the only connector that you have to disconnect. Okay, so like I said, 3 6 millimeter nuts that take an 11 millimeter wrench. Let me grab a 11 millimeter socket and a 1/4 inch ratchet. Now you might think it would make the job easier if you remove the expansion tank reservoir entirely. But in order to do that, you'd have to disconnect the hoses. So before you can disconnect the hoses, you'd have to partially drain the system. And you'd have to wait, and if the car was hot, you'd have to wait for it to cool down. Then when you reinstalled your expansion tank, you obviously would have to refill the coolant, and then you have to purge the system, which isn't a difficult or complicated thing to do, but it takes time because you have to first run it, get it warm, add water as it's running till it's at level, then put the cap on, let it get to full temperature, then let it cool down, then check it again. So basically you got to cycle the engine a few times and then you're done. But that's going to add a considerable amount of time. So your best bet is just to leave the hoses connected. Now, once you've removed the 3 mounting nuts, you can lift the reservoir up and you should have enough hose to just get it out of the way like this. Okay, now we can go ahead and remove the 2 bolts that mount the fan housing to the radiator. For that you'll need a 1/4 inch ratchet and a 5/16 or 8 millimeter socket. Driver's side bolts out, and it looks like I'm going to need an extension for the passenger side. Let me go get that. Okay, got the extension. Okay, that one's out. Now both bolts are removed. So now I'll just take you under the car to show you how those clips are.
Okay, under the car, they aren't bolts. They're just, it just kind of sits in clips. There's a clip right here on the shroud. You can see that metal clip that the shroud is sitting in. And then up a little higher above the radiator hose, there's another clip right there. Now what I'll do, so it was only 2 bolts that hold the shroud in, and the clips, it rests in the clips, and I can show you by just pushing up on this. You can see it's loose. Alright, so the whole shroud can just be lifted up. So that's all that had to happen. You don't even have to get under the car. The only reason to get under the car would be to make sure that you're seated in the clips properly. But it should just drop right in when you put the new unit in. Okay, so that was it. Just those 2 bolts, one here and one here. You probably can't see it from the angle of the camera. But anyway, this is disconnected. Now you can just pull straight up on the fan. And now we've got to kind of finagle it out past this radiator hose. So we're going to free the clips. And then jiggle it. It takes a little persuasion. Squeeze it past that hose. There you go. Now spin it and pull the whole unit out. Okay. Doesn't sound so bad when it's not powered. It might have been that it's out of balance. The bearings probably. Oh, look at that. The fan cracked. That's all it was a cracked blade. So it wasn't even a motor. You see that? The blade cracked for some reason. I don't know why. Probably just fatigue, because I don't think it hit anything. But there you go. So all I really had to do was change the blade, but where you gonna get a blade? So I got a whole new unit, and let's check that out. Okay, so there's the old fan, and here's the new fan right here. And as you can see, there it is. It's a Dorman, and you can take a screenshot of that if you want the part number. That will fit a 2002 Mustang GT. So, let's see if I'm in the frame of the camera. So we'll pull this out of the box, and here we go. So as you can see, there's that resistor right here. Okay, comes with the resistor and is plugged in with the plug, and nice and conveniently it has an OEM style connector, so it will plug right back in. You don't have to cut your harness and add any crimps. So it's good, and it does have the 3 wires, so it's a multi-speed fan, and it fit right in the car, no problem. So it's pretty much a direct replacement. I'm going to match it up to the fan. Make sure that everything's the same. So here we go. This is the key thing. This is the tab. This is up. The fan's upside down right now, but you can see the tabs are in the right spots. That tab and this tab. These are the bottoms that go in the clips. And on the top, you can see our holes for our bolts, and they're in the right spots. So it's identical. So good. It's, you know, it's not factory original, but it is a direct replacement. So it's a piece of cake to install. So let's put it back in. Well, that's all I got to do. Okay, before I put the fan in, we'll just go over where the clips are here. Here's the clip. My hand's blocking it, but right here. That's one of the lower clips on the driver's side. Here's the clip on the passenger side, the lower clip. Here's where the bolt, my finger is a little hard to get to. It's hard, that's the hardest one to get to, but that's one bolt on the top. And here, and right here, easy access right there. There is the other place where the bolt goes. So there's your 4 locations that you have to pay attention to when you're installing the fan. Okay, so just take the fan and drop her in. Got to kind of angle it in there. Actually goes in easier than it came out. Now once it's down there, gotta get those clips in on the bottom. I can get that one's in. And I can actually reach down to make sure. I think they're both in. Yep, I'm seated in my clip down here. You can feel from the top, reach down and feel that you're seated in your clips properly, and I am. So the fan is in place. I can go ahead now and reconnect this connection here. Nice that it make me a liar. Hopefully it just plugs right in. It's kind of tight. Okay, there are a couple of details on this connector I should I mean, this is all a real simple job, but this connector is a little bit of an issue. So I didn't mention when I removed it, you have a tab on this side. As you can see, that tab there, you have to lift that up, and also one on this side, 2 tabs that you have, 2 clips you have to lift up before you can remove it. This connector was very, very tight connector. And there you go. Now, on the, as you can see, these pins went forwards. The female portion of the female side, which is a new connector, they made these are really tight. So it's a real hard push. But, you know, that just makes it, you know, I guess more certain that you got a good connection. So I'm not too worried about it. Could put a little dielectric in. Matter of fact, I'm going to get some dielectric and put that on there. Make it a little easier to go together. Plus, it'll keep it from oxidizing. Okay, so here's the dielectric grease. I already applied it because I thought the camera was rolling, but it wasn't. But all you do is just take some dielectric grease and, you know, put it on your pins here. You can actually put it right in the female pins. A little there. I'll add some more. And then you can run some. I already did. As you can see, there's some silicone grease on the male portion of the plug on the outside, and then there's an O-ring in there, and I applied some silicone to that O-ring there. It acts as a lubricant, so it makes it easier next time you got to remove the connector. Also, it seals out moisture. Then you just put the connectors together and push it until the clip engages. Top, and you see this one here has to go in. It's a little tight.
As you can see, the Dorman connector was just too tight to fully seat by hand, either due to a burr or some other manufacturing defect. so I had to resort to a pair of channel locks.
Try not to damage the connector. And maybe this way. There you go. And it's in there now. All right, so I don't know, maybe there was a burr or something holding it up, but as you can see, the clips are engaged now. It's fully seated. Now we got to deal with that clip that was missing, that holds it to the fan housing. Let's go to the old fan. Okay, so here's the old fan and here's the clip, and we can just pull this. You can pry this off with a screwdriver if you need to, or maybe just pull it out. And there you go. It's this white clip here that you need. Let me see if I got a screwdriver handy. No. Maybe I can push it through. Here. Okay. So this, the way this slides in is it goes until it snaps in there. That's how it was. Came out easy. So just pull up on that. You see that? That little, the way it seats in it, there's a little clip that holds it. So pull this front part up and then just push back. Slides right out. And it will go, and now this will go in that that new connector. For some reason, you have to reuse this piece. They give you everything but this little piece. Don't ask me why. Okay, so back at the new connector here. Just go over here, take the clip, slide it in until it snaps in. So there you are. You're in there, and now you can take this and just a push. It's just a push-in connector, and that's that. Now it's back just like it was factory. You can double check your wires to make sure they're not gonna get caught up on anything. So over here, I don't like this that much. This is right here. You can see there's a wire tie right here. I'm gonna add another wire tie right here. Okay, so I've radiator hose is blocking the view, but right here I'm gonna add a wire tie. Connect this to one of the members here on the fan housing. So you probably can't see me feed this through, but once I get the wire tie connected, I need two hands to the wire tie. Okay. Move that hose out of the way. Now you can see the wire tie there. And so I'm just tightening that down. Right there. So that keeps that, clear of the blades. Cut the wire tie down. And also I'm going to add another wire tie right here. Okay, there you go. So another wire tie there. That's good now. Better than it has to be. I'll cut that down. Okay. And now we just have to put those two bolts back in.
Alright, I already started the passenger bolt by hand. You should be able to see it, it's blue. Now I just have to tighten it up with a ratchet.
Okay, there's that bolt. It's a bit hard access, but a 5/16 or an 8mm deep socket for a 1/4" ratchet works pretty good. You can get it in there. So to get the socket on there, kind of get in there and tighten up the bolt. Don't go crazy. Sorry about shaking the camera, but every time I touch the radiator hose. Okay, so that bolt's in. That's the hardest bolt. There's only two bolts. The other one's real easy. Let me move the camera over to that one. Okay, and the other bolt goes right here. can barely see, but my hand's blocking you. But there's a bolt, the blue bolt right there, and you tighten that up with a rubber bit off with a short socket. Again, an 8mm 5/16 socket, and in this case a short one. I'll run that down my hand first. And then tighten it up. All you need is a 1/4-inch ratchet, and you don't want to tighten these too tight. You don't want to crack the plastic, and you don't want to strip the threads. I don't know what the torque that Ford recommends, but I'd say about 5 foot-pounds is all you really want to give it. Okay, there you go. So now that's it. You can double check your clips, make sure they're seated, but we already checked before. They are. And I'll just take the camera there again.
Looking from above on the driver's side, you can see the clip right here, and you can see that the radiator shroud is seated in the clip. Looking from below on the passenger side, you can see the tab on the radiator shroud is properly inserted in the clip. So that's all verified. Now all that's left is to install the reservoir.
Okay, so all that's left is to reinstall the expansion tank. Now I never disconnected any of the hoses. I just removed the 3 6mm nuts. They take 11mm wrench. Just remove those 3 nuts and just swung it out of the way, as you can see. So I'll swing it back into position and bolt it back in. Okay. Move my screwdriver behind. Again, here, you don't want to make them too tight. They're only 6mm thread. So, again, maybe about 8 foot-pounds, most. 5 to 8 foot-pounds. Again, I don't know. You can look up the torque spec, but it's not that critical. Just make it tight enough so they won't vibrate loose, and not so tight that you would strip the threads or crack the plastic. Okay, she's all done. Now start up the car and turn on the air conditioning and see how the fan sounds. Alright, the fan is running. Fan's running and it's quiet. So we're good. Job is done. Job is done. I mean, it's not the quietest engine in the world, but that noise was really scary. It's, you know, it did sound like tappets. It was just actually turned out to be a cracked, broken fan blade on my radiator fan. But that noise is now gone.